Greetings, nerds. This is Cena Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I know we're talking some studio tonight, and I do have some news items this week.
Yeah. So, okay, what
Yeah.
is this A Land of the Lost TV series reboot?
Yeah, so The Land of the Lost. It was a show that was aired back in the 1970s. And it was Sid and Marty Croft, and the show was it was basically like a time travel show. So we had this family who were on an expedition, and they go down this waterfall, and they end up back in the lands of like the dinosaurs, prehistoric times. And
Okay.
so and so it was so it only aired for like 3 seasons in the mid to late 70s. But for all the Gen Xers who are listening to us, we all grew up on this show because it was rerun and syndication in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so it hit up, became a big cult following. There was like the C-Stacks, and, I think the third season, I want to say, the dad like disappeared, and then the uncle came looking for the missing family members. So so that was sort of the premise of the show. And then I want to say in like maybe the early 2000s or late 90s, but I guess it was early 2000s. Will Ferrell actually they did a movie of this, but of course it was it pretty much like got eviscerated. Rotten Tomatoes, even IMDb. I mean, it's like 26 on like Tomato, and very low rated. And so this reboot that Netflix is doing is going to be a reboot of the original TV show, and not that crappy Will Ferrell movie that was done in the a few years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then was it today that DC Studios announced the lead for the Clayface movie?
Yes, we got the lead for the Clayface movie. His name is Tom Rhys Harries. He's a Welsh actor, and currently he's in the Apple TV show Suspicion, and I think that's with Uma Thurman, if I recall. But yeah, so he beat out Jack O'Quinn, who most recently has been in Sinners, and also 28 Years Later. Tom Blythe, who was in the Hunger Games, and George McKay, who was in 1917. So yeah, Clayface is one of the OG Batman villains. He was first appeared in Detective Comics in 1940, and he was I guess an actor before. The character was an actor before turned into a life of crime, and of course, the Clayface. Of course, he was shapeshifter and stuff. So so this is the this film. I think originally was going to be directed by James Mangold, but I think he stepped away and now James Watkins, I believe, is stepping in to direct it. And I think Mike Flanagan is writing it, and it's currently is scheduled for release on September 11th, 2026. So that's the latest on Clayface, and I think Matt Reeves is also maybe executive producing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I listened very carefully, but when you when you said Jack O'Quinn,
mm-hmm.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's Jack O'Connell.
Connor, yes. I'm thinking about.
Connell. It's not even Connor. It's O'Connell. Yeah. And
O'Connell,
the only reason why I knew that was because he like started off on the show Skins. And for longtime listeners, it is crazy to me how every so often I bring up that show, which is a British show. The English version is trash. Okay. The only good thing, like, you have to watch the British show. And I will be bringing it up again next month because Will's going to make me go see Superman, and Nicholas Hoult, who's our new Luthor, he started off, well, he didn't technically about a boy, but later in his teenage years, he was the lead of Skins. So
yeah, thanks for correcting me. Yeah, my handwriting like failed me there.
It was just funny.
Yeah,
As soon as you said like Sinners, I was like, I'm pretty sure Jack O'Connell is like the only white guy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and a couple other folks. Yeah, he was the only white guy. He was very good in Sinners, by the way. Yeah,
he's a really good actor, and
I was hoping he would get it because I remember, I think I was seeing the some of the speculation as far as like these actors who are up for the role, the lead in Clayface, and his name was mentioned quite a bit, and I was really hoping he'd get it because
but you know, we shall see how this actor does whenever that movie gets made.
Yeah, well, it's going in production. I mean, obviously, if they've gotten everything locked in now, so it is going to production in the UK later this year. Of course, Supergirl is coming out next year as well. So it is happening. This is not one of those things like the Batman 2, which who knows when the hell is coming, but this one is actually coming.
Yeah, but we all know how
this is not Black Adam.
No, I don't think it's that Black Adam. I wasn't even gonna go there. Wasn't there a little Batgirl movie?
Oh yeah,
that, like no one has ever seen.
True. Yeah.
Like I'm just saying.
Yeah, the DC. Yeah. Well, I guess the DCEU is definitely dead.
So. All right, and the last news item is Star Trek related. So take it away.
Yeah, I did do a quick little note about this, but Star Trek Strange New Worlds has been renewed for a 5th and final season. It will be the 3rd season actually had its world premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival this past weekend, and really, from what I tell, everybody really enjoyed it from the reactions I've seen so far from it, and the series itself, 3rd season itself, will premiere for everyone on July the 17th. The 4th season is being filmed right now, and also this 5th and final season will immediately go into production once they've finally finished the filming of the 4th season. So we won't have like a crazy long break like we've had between seasons 2 and 3 of Strange New Worlds, because it's been like 2 years. And that part of that was due to the writer strike and actor strike. But I mean, it seems that this is the route that the show is going these days. But in the 5th season will only have 6 episodes instead of 10. So yeah, that's the late. I just wanted to drop a little Star Trek in here on our main show this week, since there was some things. And I know the showrunners, when they announced it, I think it was on Friday that Paramount Plus made this announcement. They just basically said from the beginning, Strange New Worlds set out to honor what Star Trek has always stood for: boundless curiosity, hope, and the belief that a better future is possible. We're deeply grateful to Paramount Plus for the chance to complete our 5-season mission, just as we envisioned it, alongside our extraordinary cast and crew, and to the passionate fans who boldly joined us on this journey. Thank you. With 3 more spectacular seasons ahead for you to see and enjoy, the adventure is far from over. So, just my own speculation here is, and also something I did mention at the Tribeca Film Festival this weekend, as far as the executive production team. Anybody who's watched Strange New Worlds, spoiler alert, series, crew members show up in the show, and including, of course, Paul Wesley as a lieutenant, James Kirk. Scotty showed up in the last season, and he's actually Martin Quinn, who plays Scotty. He's actually been elevated to a regular this upcoming season, And of course, Cecilia Gooding's been playing Uhura. Of course, Spock is there, played by Ethan Peck. So I think by the end of the 5th season, everybody from the original series will probably be, as far as that crew, will probably be in the show. And one of the things they did mention at the film festival this past weekend, they I don't know if it was joking or serious, but they're like, we might do some further adventures with the original series team. So with, obviously with the new cast. So we'll see what happens there.
Awesome. Well, that's very exciting news. And for all of you Trekkies out there.
Yeah.
All right. And that brings us to the main topic of tonight. The Studio, Season 1, Episode 5, The War. Frustrated by her position in the office hierarchy, Quinn wages war against Sal. I really like this episode. And I thought to myself, why do I really like this episode? And I was like, oh, okay. Matt is around, but he's not the focus. Mm-hmm. But it's not like I don't like Matt. Yeah. It's more that, and we were talking about this last week, that his humor, Seth Rogen in particular, his humor doesn't always work for me. Mm-hmm. And this episode, I finally got my first laugh. And it was when the burrito was thrown. Just because like when the burrito gets thrown, it's just great timing of hitting the driver right in the face, and then driving straight through a film set. And it's just like, for whatever reason, I thought that timing played out perfectly. Yeah. And it finally made me laugh. But overall, I appreciated how, like, in a very office like way, mm-hmm. we get these we get more insight into both Sal and Quinn, and just they're able to go back and forth. There also wasn't, I don't think Maya appeared at all. Nope. I don't think Catherine Hahn appeared at all. I think it was just like them three and a few other office workers, and then Matt was around, and of course the directors, because you had Sal trying to rip off, trying to get the director of Smile to make the rip off of Smile, while you had Quinn try to get her first greenlit with bringing on Owen Klein. To direct to direct his like first thing. But so, and you enjoyed this episode too.
I did because you mentioned The Office, and I think that was part of it. It was that workplace. It was very relatable because it reminded me of workplaces I've been in, where Sal's like you got Quinn, who's the young up and comer, who's just trying to get into the mix and try to get this Owen Klein a job, and of course Sal's like the old guard who's like, yeah, I know how the system works, and yeah, we're ripping off Smile, but we'll just call it Wink. And then whenever he had that like creepy ass wink, whenever he was, I wasn't able to get an asset for it, but it's just like super cringe when I was watching the episode. But I mean, I agree. I mean, it just, all the beats really worked, and you're right. It was, I think it was good after. I mean, there was no Maya, there was no Patty this episode, but there were just super relatable moments, like I was thinking, and some of the cutthroatness of what people will do to advance. And we all hear the horror stories, and we can all share horror stories about things we've seen in the office or in our workplaces where people will do things like, Quinn seeing that, she knew that the Matt's assistant had kept her password and stuff on on the sticky note on their computer and like cancel the appointment, and so that they would like double, Matt was been trying to like get lunch or whatever with Chris Hemsworth. And so that was just a super funny moment, because it's like, okay, I know people like that. And so
who leave their password on their computer.
Yes, I do know people who are like that. I've seen it, not my current job, but I've seen it in the past where it's like, yeah.
The more I think about this episode, the more I think about how, yes, Matt wasn't present, but it's interesting because the debate between Sal and Quinn, yes, on the surface level, it's about hierarchy and the up and comer and the old dog. But it's also two sides of where we've seen Matt in his new position come head to head, considering Quinn wants to has a line about wanting to make good films and criticizes Sal's ripoff. And then he has to give her a lecture and remind her the fact that there are 11 Fast and Furious movies that prove your theory wrong. which is very good. So he's definitely on the we're here to make money. And so a lot of their arguments resembled the same back and forth that we saw in the first episode between Matt and Bryan Cranston's character. So I like how we're able to even see how so far Matt hasn't surrounded himself necessarily around yes men. He did, in the first episode, promote Quinn, and there's a reason, and she's able to be that on his shoulder talking about making good movies, while Sal is also there to be like, no, dude, you gotta also make the money. So I think that that's another reason why this episode works for a lot of people.
Yeah, and also know another thing too, as far as the interpersonal office dynamics and things that, to your point, what I was saying about the old guard, Sal using things that he knows will trigger Matt, because he's like, you said the word lame, that word is very triggering for Matt to just basically again shoot,
that was Quinn.
Excuse me. Quinn. But my point stands that people know what will get the boss triggered, and use that to their advantage, to be able to try to get their way as far as an assignment or whatever.
But that's also was triggering to Sal too. It's that they do two things with that line. I love that line. It's why I wrote it down. It's because on the one hand, yes, I see the way she even says it. I don't know. I think on a subconscious level, she knew that would touch a nerve, because she's dealing with two old white men. Who clearly also want to be cool. She knows them, but she threw it out because it felt like a natural response to that idea. Are you kidding me? Especially given the age difference. And the way it was received, I like how it then ties back into what we see of Sal interacting with his daughters. And so when he comes forward and admits why it's so bothersome, everything that Quinn's doing, it ties all back to him feeling as though he doesn't have that family unit together. He's failing there. And so his job is all he has. To what you said, there's a lot of different angles in this episode in terms of office politics that we see and have seen in our everyday lives as well. And then it just it touches on kind of a discussion we had last week about Matt's ego, because and which carries through in the next episode, which is, I mean, IMDb even put it in their summary, like Matt's ego is put to the test when his new doctor girlfriend brings him to a charity gala. So we're going to talk about the pediatric oncologist, which okay. I did a mental note to try to rewatch some of this episode because I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. I don't know what happened. I was watching the episode and then I saw where it was going. He bet on the golf trip. He won. And then there was arguments, blah, blah, blah. For whatever reason, it's like I blacked out. I see him in the ambulance and I'm like, wait a second, how? I didn't see the hijinks that occurred. Like I saw him run into a waiter, but follow, like, I don't know. I'm like, why am I feel like I'm missing gaps. I don't need a play-by-play, but I just find it funny that I like made it through the episode and then for some reason I have these holes. I'm like, well, how did that escalate?
It did escalate. It did escalate pretty quickly. I agree. Yeah, because I mean they were having the back and forth, and of course he gets to throughout the evening, because whenever we first start the episode they were putting together a film, of course, and they're trying to get their own deadline to get the trailer done. And so it was, but you're right. I mean, we went from like everything was swimming, and then it just escalates. The next thing you know, he's like falling over, tables blasted, and he's like, he wakes up in he's at the episode ends, and he's got his hand bandaged, and
he's gonna go, and then he does the taunt, like, and you know what's gonna be in that room? A screen.
Yep.
I like it was nice then to go from like such an office heavy episode into Matt in his day-to-day life. The one thing that bothered me though throughout this episode is this show takes place in LA. So you're telling me that all of those doctors who live in LA are just like they don't care at all about film and TV. Like I get it, they're smart and priorities and everything, but I'm just like, you could have been a doctor anywhere. So why? I don't.
Yeah, well, see, I that's we should have our friend Jackie, who's the actress. She's a doctor, but also, but she also lives in LA. I just talk to someone who like lives in that world, because I'll be very curious to see, or I have a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine lives in LA, and it's funny, they don't bring up like you're in Tinseltown and all that, but it's just sort of like, it's sort of like in your backyard, but it's just sort of like, it's kind of like no big deal for him. And he works at USC and actually works with, it's funny enough, he actually works with Arnold. He's a professor in the Schwarzenegger Institute. But
I understand the no big deal about it, and like that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But the writing of these people was like intentionally not, oh, no big deal, intentionally like disdain.
Yeah, well, I think that was I think that was, I mean, that was part of the, with the, well, at the framing at the beginning of the episode, because you had two people from two different worlds.
Yeah.
And so I think it was just they used that to just, I think, really just show that tension between where you have Matt, who, like, something you said earlier, that we're out of the office now and we're actually out in the regular world, even though these people are like super high achieving medical professionals. But in Matt's world, he's he's in control in that studio environment and stuff, and he's the boss, he's the guy. And then when he gets over here with these other folks, they're like, it was almost, and sometimes when I was watching an episode, it was just like nice pat on your head, like, we have a real job. We're heroes here. We save kids from cancer, and you're just a guy who just makes movies, and yeah, it's all nice and stuff, but you don't know pressure. We know pressure, and it was just, for me, it was just like that through line throughout was just, it really fed when I think back to some of the discussions we've had about Matt and his insecurities and like and things becoming ahead of the studio. I think it just really, to me, it just like pulled everything ahead as far as like, okay, yeah, it made those other earlier episodes really stand out more to me. And I really, like I said, one of the things I didn't say at the beginning, I mean, this block that we watched this week are probably my 3 favorite episodes of the season so far.
Right. Yeah. Like, I understand the tension and the patronizing or patronizing of Matt, and they get the viewer to kind of view these people through his perspective of really like belittling him and making him and his job feel so much smaller. And it plays on that insecurity that they've already touched on in previous episodes. And I understand this is a comedy, but I don't know why we couldn't have had a better project that he had to be on the phone about than like the fact that I want to be on Matt's side, but it's really hard to when he's making that type of shit movie, like, pun intended.
Yeah.
So
well, see, that's just it too, because I mean, while he's sitting there and he was trying to like, well, I think that was the genius to me about this episode, because he was trying to still make it feel relevant by saying, look, I am trying to help you all out with all this medical disinformation out here, and I'm trying, showing how the art can like be used for good things, even though it was a Johnny Knoxville movie. But
right.
Yeah.
Like with that line, I would have appreciated better had I been able to, because as a viewer, what the movie is, and you're like, that's a stretch. Like, I don't understand. I mean, that's brought up at the beginning of the episode as well. So it's just, I mean, for whatever reason, that plot point didn't work for me. I understand why they did it, but it just, it didn't carry over to make me that supportive of Matt.
I don't see, and so it's funny. I wasn't. It wasn't where I was like even feeling supportive of Matt. I mean, I get where he was coming from, trying to make himself, and and like you said, I am the summary of the episode really hits it. I mean, it really, it is really dealing with his ego and stuff. So I mean, and so I don't know if it was where I was like, I wasn't feeling sympathetic towards Matt during the episode. I was like, I mean, I maybe not sympathetic's the right word. I wasn't like agreeing with him.
No, but you were on his side.
Yeah, but I see where he was coming from.
Yeah. Like, and I did like the remark, people in the arts, we fund your little science projects.
Yeah.
Like, and I wish that it delved more into that. Just this idea, like, yes, what we do is not life-saving. However, like, we make the money that allows you to do what you do through charity. So like they could have done some very interesting things there. And granted, this has been renewed for season 2 and we still have more episodes to come, so maybe they will. But like, I wish they had played more into that, as opposed to some of the other stuff. But Matt is a giant man child, so what you can do. what you do. And then that brings us to the last episode. And your point earlier about how you think like these 3 episodes are so far your favorite that we've seen. I completely agree. Like the episodes are getting better and better. Of course, after I mentioned last week that we haven't talked about Kool-Aid, the 7th episode titled Casting is all about Kool-Aid as the team scrambles to come up with a movie cast for the movie that won't offend anyone. And now this was fascinating.
Yeah.
This was really just, I want more of this.
Yes.
As someone who loves movies and loves TV shows, to get an insight about this kind of logic, especially in this day and age, like, these kind of conversations happen. And so I thought this episode just was really executed in such a smart way.
Yeah.
Because, and it all starts with Maya looking at the board and being like, and being like, uh-oh, we got a problem. Cool. Ice Cube is black.
Yeah.
No, you can't say that.
You can't say that.
We can't say that. And then like and then Matt's like, oh my God, he's black. Is this racist? Did we do something racist? Oh my God. And and then the irony of it all.
Yeah.
At the end of it, it's not even like the cast wasn't the big issue. It was the fact that Matt allowed the director to hire AI to replace animators.
Yep.
Very smart episode.
Yeah, very, very smart episode. I mean, it did. I mean, it's just, because it all the things, we see it on social media, with like, I think like Snow White recently, as far as, the issues there. And I mean, when there's any number of like, fill in the blank project. I mean, think about Ghost in the Shell with like Scarlett Johansson. I mean, movies will literally.
Wasn't that one of the big talking points with the strikes?
Oh, the AI?
Yeah.
Yeah. The strikes. I mean, it was so on point with so many different things. I mean, even now with some of the video game stuff and voiceover work, and I mean, the AI is still a big issue. And so this film like this episode hits on so many things that and it was just like, well, it was the well-meaning, well-intentioned thing of
white people.
I
can say it.
You can say it.
I can say it.
Yeah. It was like, thinking about Juneteenth coming up here, because it's like after George Floyd, it was just like, it was like you create a holiday, but that wasn't what we wanted.
Right. Yeah. I just, and then every time, like, I think it was Sal who always brought up, this is why we need to go lesbian.
Yep.
Lesbian. And we can have an adopted Asian kid.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, now we have the entire Kool-Aid family black.
Yeah.
The
so
live action family.
And they go to the So then they go to the black guy in the room. It's like, it's just offensive.
Yeah.
And then they go to Quinn. It's just offensive.
Yeah. But it's just, and I was listening to the That Was Us podcast this morning because they dropped a new episode.
Okay.
And they brought up casting and just how as actors, like in this day and age, social media and the casting directors and the people who are hiring.
Mm.
Like, I'm surprised this episode didn't go there, but
Oh, yeah.
I also know that they got held back a little bit about, like, these days it's like, oh, let me see your headshot, but also let me see your Instagram account and your Twitter account or X account, so we can know how many followers you have, so we can know like how many eyes are bringing people to the project, and then we're going to need this amount of people to really get this project off the ground. So, like, it'll be interesting to, especially with both Sal and Matt, as these older white characters, to see how they talk about how Hollywood has changed due to social media.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too. I was listening to some folks talk about Mia Goth, who was recently cast in Star Wars, and that was that same point about the influencer culture, and is it excluding real talent, because it's not about the talent sometimes. You're right. I mean, that like their discussion, it's like, what do you bring now as far as your social media, because that's just such a, and I think maybe didn't they touch on that a little bit maybe in an earlier episode? I have to go back and rewatch the series, but
Maya might have said something, but they didn't, like, even if she has a line about it, they could do an entire episode because it's so prominent, and it could go in a few different ways about it. But it's something else that I've been watching lately is Kind of Funny started their in review of Superman.
Okay.
So, and yeah, this is my other go-to for long-time listeners. If you're, and believe me, okay, this is one of those things. Greg Miller is obsessed with Superman. So that episode, I think, is close to 3 hours long.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And they talk about Marlon Brando. Okay. And they talk about some of especially the Christopher Reeve interview, where he talks a little bit about Brando, and it's like, clearly they didn't have the best working relationship. And just this idea that Marlon Brando, we didn't have social media back then.
Right.
But that actor was in such a place with the journalists that he managed to get anything he wanted. And like, if he came to set, if they wanted him to look a certain way, he didn't care. He would just come however he wanted to. So we go from that to, in this day and age, where in a way it hasn't changed, because now it's just like, oh, they're allowed to do that because they're bringing 15 million followers to this project. So, it's just, it's crazy how technology has changed the world, yet also not. Because like, we're still humans, and so our behaviors are not that far different than before the technology boom.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you're right. I mean, it really is. It's just plug in different. Yeah, I mean, it just the dynamic is the same, as you said. It's just, instead of it, back in the day, it would just be like, because you would have to have the movie star. I mean, this is the whole, and I wonder if the studio is going to get into this as well, about having, as far as casting. I know this was the issue with race and with this episode, but having the bankable movie star, because back before, you really did need to have like the name, like like a Tom Cruise or a Harrison Ford or whoever, fill in the blank actor or actress. Now it's like you said. I mean, it's like the influencer, who has the most social media followers, not necessarily who's the most bankable star to get people butts and seats. So,
well, are there bankable stars anymore?
That's just, I don't think.
Like,
I mean,
because even Robert Downey Jr., back in the day. He leaves Avengers. He's the biggest star on the planet. He goes and makes a few movies. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Like the reason why the stars are disappearing, I don't think is because of influencers or anything. I think it's because of IP.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's you can bring somebody's name to a project, but their name ain't gonna be as big of a seller as Captain America.
Yep. Or Kool-Aid, which I think
Kool-Aid, like just like Barbie, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad they brought it. Yeah, I'm glad they brought it back to, because I was wondering to your, you asked the question last week. So whenever I watched the episode this week where Kool-Aid is returned, I'm like, yes, we're back to that issue. So again, that also touches on the IP. I mean, to your point, that's so there was just there's so many things in this episode where that did work, and they did have, and speaking of like the name, they did have a name with casting Ice Cube to be the voice of Kool-Aid, so the Kool-Aid Man. So yeah, so it had so many elements, and I loved Ice Cube's response too whenever he realized that Nick stole, when the Reddit found out that AI was going to be used to animate, and it's just like, fuck AI, so it's just, and Nick Stoller like creeping off the stage, and Matt just like standing there just like the emperor with no clothes at that point.
We're gonna see Sandra Oh eventually, right? Because I love that her headshot was on there, and she's the voice of Debbie from Invincible.
She is, yeah, and and there was another, the person who asked about the AI, as soon as they were like wearing the Homelander costume at the Comic-Con, and
you Homelander, and I'm like, oh my god, Homelander's in the
Seth Rogen is a producer on the voice.
So I hope everyone took note of back, I think even in the pilot, when I brought up like there better be a crossover with the boys. Like this has to happen.
It has to happen.
Like Anthony Starr, please stand up. Okay.
Please. Yes. Season 2.
Yeah. All right. Well, unless you had any more hot takes or anything more to discuss, I'm good to wrap up. I mean, it was short, but it was sweet.
Yeah. Well, that's the last thing I'll say about the show. These episodes, the runtimes have been really good. There's only been, they're bringing back the 20+ minute comedy. You don't need to stretch it out. That's the other thing I do appreciate about these episodes.
Yeah, I agree as well. Is that with the pace, they have definitely structured their episodes very well, and arguably are structuring the season very well, as because we know we're headed in a direction, especially with this Kool-Aid direction. I mean, we saw it from, it was just an idea, and now we're going through casting. And now we're waiting for it to get like really greenlit. Now, will it get made? I don't know. Here's another thing I'm waiting to resurface, like the script of Jamestown.
Yeah.
That to come out of nowhere. Yeah. So, all right. Well, next week we will be back to wrap up this season with the final 3 episodes before we jump into the next Marvel project, which is called, what is the next one called?
Ironheart.
Ironheart, yes. I was like, it's called Iron something, but
Ironheart. Yeah. Speaking of Robert Downey Jr., he actually, I think he gave a shout out to Dominique, the actress who plays Riri, on his socials this week. Speaking of socials.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That's sweet. That show needs some help because, man, they have not done a good job marketing.
No.
Very late to the game. But, sometimes sleepers happen. So we shall see. All right, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, speaking of socials, you can find me on all the socials at Will M. Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBLMONT. Please follow our crew on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Scene and Nerd, on Blue Sky. And friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Threads at scene_n_nerd, and visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, geek out. You're welcome.